In nature, there is a great diversity of living organisms which differ in some way or the other. So, botanists and zoologists repeatedly look for patterns that may help them to explain the great diversity of life on Earth and how organisms are related to each other. In the year 1753, a Swedish naturalist by the name Carolus Linnaeus invented an artificial method of taxonomical classification of living organisms. He proposed that every organism be given two Latin names, a system of naming now referred to as the binomial nomenclature of living organisms. In the binomial system of naming organisms, living organisms are first of all divided into kingdoms. Within each kingdom, the organisms are classified into different phyla or divisions in plants. Each phylum, singular now, comprises classes which are made up of orders. Within each order, there is a family which in turn contains several genera, and each genus usually have several species. The chart below illustrates a memory aid to remembering the various levels of organization in the correct order. We have the kingdom, the phylum, the class, the order, the family, the genus, and the species. The mnemonic is the king plays card on fine green sand. Of all the levels of classification highlighted above, the kingdom is the broadest level, and the species, which is the last level, contains organisms with the greatest similarity because they can interbreed freely. In biology, organisms are arranged into five major kingdoms. The first one is kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera comprises bacteria and other similar organisms. These organisms are prokaryotic, which means that they are devoid of true nuclei and membrane-bounded organelles. Another kingdom is kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista, which comprises of unicellular or multicellular protists that may be grouped into plant-like protists, also called protophyta, such as the Chlamydomonas and diatoms, or animal-like protists, also called protozoans, such as the Paramecium, the Euglena, and the unicellular protist called the amoeba. Fungus-like protists also exist, and these include slime molds, Myxomycota, and the Oomycota. Another kingdom is the kingdom Fungi. Kingdom Fungi contains organisms that have cell walls made up of chitin. These organisms lack chlorophyll, hence they cannot manufacture food. Kingdom Fungi contains organisms which usually live as parasites or saprophytes. Examples of fungi are the mushroom, which is multicellular, the rhizopus, the mucor, the toadstool, and others. The mushroom is a very significant fungus which has an umbrella-shaped cup in its structure called the pileus, a body called the stipe, and a mycelium or fruiting body which is made up of a network rather of fine branching threads called hyphae. Please note that yeast is a very significant unicellular fungi. The mushroom is a very significant fungus. Please friends, do not be confused with the interplay of the words fungus and fungi. Fungus is the singular form of fungi and fungi is the plural form. I'm very sure you have seen a lot of plants around you. These plants fall under a broad kingdom called Kingdom Plantae. This kingdom is divided into various major groups known as divisions. The life cycle of plants in general is observed to show an alternation of generation or a dual life cycle. This means that plants usually have a gametophyte stage of life which produces gametes or sex cells, and a sporophyte stage in which they produce spores. The major divisions of the plant kingdom are the first one is the schizophyta, which are now extinct and as such no longer regarded. Secondly, the bryophyta, and then we have the pteridophyta and the spermatophyta. Let's pick the first one now, the bryophyta. Plants under the division bryophyta are called bryophytes. These plants are said to have been the earliest plants to move from water to land. They are usually found in moist environments. They do not possess true roots, stems, or leaves. However, they are fastened to the ground by special structures which are false roots called rhizoids. The biophytes also show an alternation of generation in which the gametophyte phase is the dominant stage. Examples of bryophytes are mosses and liverworts. Moving forward, we have division pteridophyta. These plants are also known as ferns. They are more advanced than bryophytes because they have true roots, stems, and leaves. Like the bryophytes, the pteridophytes also show an alternation of generation. But unlike the bryophyte, in which the gametophyte stage is the dominant stage, here in the pteridophyte, the sporophyte stage is the dominant stage. Here, the gametophyte is also called a prothallus. Majority of the plants we see around us fall under the last and broadest division of kingdom Plantae, which is the division Spermatophyta. These plants comprise the most advanced plants known to man. The spermatophytes are classified into the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. Gymnosperms are non-flowering plants, so their seeds do not grow in flowers. However, their seeds grow on structures called a strobilus or cone. Examples of gymnosperms are the cycads, the pines, the spruces, and the conifers. Angiosperms, on the other hand, are flowering plants, so their seeds are enclosed in fruits. They make up the largest group in the plant kingdom. Angiosperms can be further classified into monocotyledons with fibrous root system and dicotyledons with taproot systems. Further differences between monocotyledons and dicotyledons will be given. For now, however, it is important for us to know that monocotyledons, from the word mono, means one cotyledon or one seedling, and dicotyledons, from the prefix di, means two cotyledons or two seedlings. So monocot plant contains just a seed and dicot plant contains two seedlings. Example of monocots are the yam, the maize, and several others. We can interact. We are both animals. We fall under the same kingdom Animalia. Generally, animals may be divided into two main groups: the vertebrates, which are animals with backbone, and the invertebrates, which are animals without a backbone. Animals can also be classified based on body symmetry into asymmetrical, which is no body symmetry, such as the sponges; radially symmetrical, in which all parts of the body radiate from the center, e.g., the hydra; and bilateral symmetry, in which the body of the organism can be split into two equal halves by drawing a line from the center, e.g., humans are bilaterally symmetrical. Animals can be further classified into various groups called phyla, as seen below. Kingdom Animalia has various phyla. These include the Porifera, example are the sponges; the Cnidaria or coelentrates, example are the hydra and sea anemones; the Platyhelminths, examples we have the planaria and the blood flukes; the nematodes or phylum Nematoda, which include the roundworm and the hookworm. We have phylum Annelida, which involves the earthworm. We have phylum Mollusca, which comprises organisms like snails, octopus, squid, oysters, etc. We have the Arthropoda, which contains organisms like the crustaceans, the insects, the spiders or the arachnids. We have the Echinodermata, which comprises of the starfish and sea urchins. And we even have the chordata, which may be further classified into the amphibians, the reptilian, the aves, and the mammals. Let's discuss some of these phyla. The first phyla is the porifera. It contains the most primitive of all animals. They are entirely aquatic in nature, and they include the sponges. Organisms in the other phyla, the phylum Cnidaria, such as Hydra, show radial symmetry. The body cavity of Hydra is called the enteron. Please take note of that. The head of a tapeworm is also called the scoles. It bears the hooks and the suckers. But the tapeworm is not under the phylum Cnidaria. The tapeworm is under the phylum Platyhelminths, which are flatworms. These flatworms are tripoblastic in nature, meaning they have three body cavities. They are usually bilateral in their symmetry, so they can be split into two equal halves. They may be free-living, such as the planaria, or they may be parasitic, such as the tapeworm and the liver fluke, which causes schistosomiasis. The organisms under phylum Nematoda are collectively called roundworms. This is because they are cylindrical in shape and they have unsegmented bodies. Organisms under phylum Annelida are more developed than nematodes because of at least three reasons. The first one is that, unlike the nematodes, the annelids have segmented bodies. Also, they possess a circulatory system, unlike the nematodes, and they also have separate sexes and as such are not hermaphrodites. The phylum Mollusca contains organisms like the snail, the oysters, and others which may be aquatic or terrestrial with an outer or inner shell. They usually have a large muscular foot, a head, and several internal organs or viscera. They also possess a mantle cavity which aids in respiration. Insects are everywhere. Insects fall under the phylum Arthropoda. These insects are considered to be the most successful of all organisms in the animal kingdom. This is because they are found in just about every habitat. One word for them, they are ubiquitous. The arthropods have an exoskeleton made up of chitin. They are classified into several other groups, such as crustacea, example are the crabs, such as insecta, such as the mosquito, and such as arachnida, which include the spiders. The last and most important phylum is the phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata contains organisms called chordates. These chordates are distinguished for three important features, or rather for having three important features, which are a notochord, a posterior body wall, and a dorsal hollow nerve cord. The chordates include the amphibians, such as the frogs, the reptiles, such as the snakes, aves, such as the birds, and mammals, which include you and I, humans. So far, we have learnt a lot. Now let's take home some mind-blowing facts. Certain mammals have the ability to live underwater. These mammals are called cetaceans. An example is the whale. Some other mammals also have the remarkable ability to lay eggs. These mammals are called monotremes. An example is the duck-billed platypus. And also, we have mammals that can fly. These mammals are called chiropterans. An example is the bat. For more information and questions, you can review our notes on our website, Cognitive.